Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Last episode, we talked about the hidden cost of going back to your old life.
Yeah, and how we talked about once you've experienced better health, more energy, less pain, and metabolic freedom, it's almost impossible to go back to the way you used to live.
And today we want to show you exactly why that is.
Yeah, because the people we're going to talk about today didn't just lose weight, they gained a completely different life.
Welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the Happy Healthy Guys.
Welcome back. One of the things, though, before we get into just transformation in keys to not going back to your old life, we've been talking about how to really achieve life transformation. We talked about the importance of having a solid community. We talked about making sure that you're being held accountable and you're doing something that you know that is going to get results. And then you have a simple roadmap or a plan to be able to get there. So if you feel like you need a plan to be able to get yourself unstuck, to be able to help you to lose weight, keep it off. But really, we always talk about is have a truly happy, healthy life transformation. Go back and listen to the last few episodes. And on the last episode, we teased something. And what we teased is we said we are going to let you guys know what the longevity nutrient that we discovered when we were in Sardinia, Italy. What is that longevity food that when you eat this, it's been shown by the folks of ScaleThe, the centenarians, to help you to be able to live a happier, healthier life past 100 years old.
Yeah, and I don't even know that we discovered it. I think we didn't
discover it.
Yeah, we didn't discover it. I think it just validated our suspicions. Because we're over there, in Italy, in Sardinia, and everybody's thinking, well, I already know the answer to it. It's got to be olive oil. But the longevity fat in Sardinia wasn't olive oil. It was pig lard. It was an animal-based fat, which obviously we know. And even if you look at France, the French paradox isn't olive oil. It's butter. And so animal-based fats have the most nutrient-dense profile, have the highest smoke points, have the highest heat resistance. They break down less frequently because of the saturated fats in the bond. So we were blown away. Not that there wasn't olive oil over in Sardinia, there was, but historically, this is what built the longevity framework because of all the feral pigs that were there roaming all over the countryside. And of course, as the Industrial Revolution overtakes all of us, mowing down the forests, the pigs leaving and then switching over to some different sources. But now that's coming back. But we were meeting people that were into their 80s, 90s and higher. And this is what they were raised with. And it takes me back to, I've told the story about the six sisters, which is my mother's grandmother. Her grandmother and her five sisters all grew up in the 1860s and 70s. They rendered pig lard, and they all lived to be 95 to 100 on no medication, disease-free. There was a animal-based diet. They milked cows, they churned butter, they rendered pig lard. Animal-based nutrition seems to be very ancestrally consistent.
It is consistent. And speaking of, even when we were back in ScaleThe, I was thinking about, we met Tony. So Antonio, he's the guy that he took us into his place. He called it the Chapel of the Pigs. He said, you guys are familiar with the Sistine Chapel. This is Chapel of the Pigs. And he proceeded to take us to his house. We were walking through the village of ScaleThe. And when we got to his house, we go in this door and we go underground into a cellar, almost as if it was a wine cellar. But instead of it being a wine cellar, it was where he was curing all of his pig.
It was sacred.
Yeah, it was totally sacred.
The Chapel of the Pig.
Most wonderful aroma that you've ever smelled. You just think about smelling the best bacon ever, and just having a room full of this. And when we walk down into this cellar, and there's this long table inside there, and across this entire table, he had different cuts of prosciuttos. He had mortadella. He had just every kind of cut of the pig that you could ever imagine was there, and these beautiful wines as well. And
The
we
head
got to
cheese.
the head cheese. I'm not a fan of the head cheese.
My
But
favorite.
yeah, it was your favorite.
Yeah.
And he had all these different types of cuts of the pig, and a lot of fats there. And it was interesting to me being there in Seulo and eating these meats. We talked on the last episode about Massimo, the shepherd there.
Yeah.
We talked about
Another
the
sacred
importance,
experience.
this super sacred experience, and we talked about him being the shepherd. And here's the thing is when you look or you watch any of these Blue Zone episodes,
Yeah.
and they're great because they're giving you some things in different cultures that they do in order to be able to live a long time and be happy and healthy as you're living to be 100. But one of the things that I think is more of a propaganda thing is that they all talk about one of the keys to longevity. They talk about it being a vegetarian
Yeah.
or vegetables.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if Seulo is a blue zone, fruits and vegetables, or not necessarily fruits, but vegetables were not their primary source of food and nutrients. It was meats coming from pig, lamb, sheep. We had a huge feast with the entire village, and we were
Yeah.
talking about the importance of community while we were there with Massimo. Massimo asked us while we were at his place, and this is what I love about this. It's like you just feel like your family. He goes, "Do you guys have plans for dinner this evening?" And we did have plans
We
for
did.
dinner,
We were excited
and
about those
and
plans.
we were going to have a chef prepare us a meal, and a Sardinian chef prepare us a meal who had been on the Food Network and had an episode with Zac Efron,
Yep.
and so we already had that scheduled. And he said, "If you've got plans, cancel those
Canceled
plans."
it.
He goes, "We have a big celebration
Celebrating
for
John the Baptist, right?
celebrating John
And
the
that
Baptist."
coming up like any,
Maybe this week.
yeah, I think so.
And he said, "We want you to be our special guests there. It's the entire village comes. The shepherds, who we found out run the entire village,
Yeah, they are the leadership.
they are the
They're
leadership.
highly respected.
Yes, and they don't have police there. The leadership is the shepherds. And so we're gonna have this feast there. You guys come. We want you guys to be our special guests, and that's what we did. We were literally integrated right there with the entire village. We show up. It was great because they had this big gigantic pit, and in this big gigantic pit is where they were roasting the
Oh man, you
sheep,
remember walking
the
around that
lamb.
corner
It was
and just getting the aroma. It
unbelievable.
was what goat and sheep, lamb
Yeah,
cooking and
yeah,
just skewered there. I
unbelievable.
mean, to feed the village, and the shepherds provided, and the farmers, they provided all of the food.
All of the
And there was what,
wine, all of the
700
cheese. There's
people there?
700 people in the village
Yeah.
at the event. They
Yeah.
said that there was about 400 to 500 that were there.
Yeah.
700 total. So the majority of the village was there. We got to learn their dances. It was funny too because the kids were doing a fundraiser. And when I say kids, we're talking about 13 to 16-year-old kids doing a
Yeah.
fundraiser. And the way they were raising funds was selling beer. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So they're walking around with pitchers of beer,
Yep.
giving us these pitchers of beer, and it was because of that's how we met Giovanni.
Yeah.
Was through having a beer with Giovanni. So Giovanni was one of the centenarians of the village. I say a centenarian. He's not quite 100
What,
yet.
he's
He's
92,
92.
I think, yeah.
92 years
You
old.
wouldn't have known it.
Wouldn't have known it. And he invited us the next day to come hang out with him, to go on a hike with him. And he was like a dang billy goat walking up that mountain. But he's the one on the last episode that was showing us how they use plants there for medicine,
Yeah.
not for food. He was
Yeah. Food isn't medicine and medicine isn't food. And there's really nothing to cure, but the plants were the medicine and they knew every one of them. It was remarkable how they were so connected to the ecosystem
Yeah.
of the plants and the animals. And, for things to live, things have to die. There's a whole system of just ancestrally living. They weren't thinking, like we said, they weren't thinking about living to be 100. They were just moving, eating, flowing, connecting in just a normal atmosphere of how generations have done it before them. It was remarkable to see. And Giovanni been making wine since he was just a small kid.
Yeah.
You remember how they would even there weren't bottles of wine on the table. They were water
Or were
bottles
empty water bottles.
filled with wine from the tanks that they were making in their homes.
Yeah.
That was almost like a treat. You have to go on your 5-mile hike through the mountains to get to enjoy your glass of wine. It was like a treat. And Giovanni was really leading the charge with that.
He was, yeah. He led us right to his home and to his own personal wine cellar that was in the basement of his place. So what a beautiful human being. And I remember being at that feast and, going back to not going back to the person that you used to be, because there was, and I think it was one of the relatives of maybe Tony, maybe not, I don't remember exactly, but he was there visiting from, he grew up there. He left. We interviewed him, in fact.
Yeah.
He left and went to live in one of the bigger cities there in Sardinia.
Yeah.
And you could see that he said that he's unhealthier since he moved away.
Yeah.
Because he adopted the habits of these other people that were around him. Again, the importance of community.
Tourists.
Yeah, the tourists. So they say that, you're the culmination of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And so he changed his community. He changed his room. It's no longer a strong room. Got unhealthy. He was back. And that's one of the things that he said is that he was much healthier growing up there than when he moved away into the city because there was more stress. It was busier. He was not eating the same foods that he had been used to eating.
Totally.
So that's why it's so important to not go back to the way that you were. And once you have that life transformation, you should never, ever want to go back. And we're going to talk about some of the transformational stories that happen as a result of both coming into our community, working with our team, working with us one-on-one, and these people have made that decision to not ever go back. So I really want to share some of these stories with people because people, I think when they talk to us at the beginning and they say, you mean you could help me lose 30 pounds in only 5 weeks? There's some disbelief that comes with that. And or that same person goes, well, I've done something like that before and I ended up gaining the weight back. So let's share some of these transformational stories where people have not only lost the weight, we'll talk about their non-weight loss related wins as well and how they've been able to maintain this as well.
Let's do it.
So let's do it. So we're going to talk, the first person that we're going to talk about here is Mary. So Mary is 66 years young. Some people say that, you know what, I'm too old for that. She's 66 years young. Check this out, y'all. She lost 33.2 pounds in only 5 weeks going through our Happy Healthy Thin program. And she lost 6 inches from her waist.
Remarkable.
And another 3 inches from her thighs. Here's what she said. She said, my naysayer friends are shaking their heads and saying, now we'll see if you can keep it off. And I can tell you, I'm very confident that that won't be a problem. The reason it's not going to be a problem is because Mary now has a healthy metabolism. And when you have a healthy metabolism, you don't gain weight back because your metabolism is doing what it's supposed to be. You get to be one of those people that you used to look at and go, oh my gosh, that person's super blessed because they have a great or they have a fast metabolism. No, we all have a great and fast metabolism. That's what God's given us to begin with. Something just broke it and she was able to fix it.
Yeah, health, remember, is the norm. And so, a lot of people always ask us, and it's just not a good question, but they'll ask us, how do I lose weight? And to be honest with you, I've thought about that question a lot. And here's now how I answer that question. If somebody says, how do I lose weight? What I would tell them to do is I would tell them to go on a diet. I would tell them to go on a diet, cut all your calories, be miserable, calories in, calories out, lose the weight, you're going to gain it back. You're going to get sicker. It's going to kill you quicker and make you more dependent on medication. But if you want to lose weight, that's what I would tell you to do. Versus somebody reframing that and asking me, because somebody would be like, well, why would you tell me to do that? I'm going to gain it back. It's going to make me sicker. It's going to potentially kill me quicker and keep me addicted to medications from my doctor. Why would you tell me to do that? Well, you asked me, how do I lose weight? If you ask me, how do I fix my metabolism? Now we can have a completely different conversation, because now we can get to root cause of the problem. We can address the real issue and give real solutions, because ultimately people don't have a weight problem. They have a metabolic problem. And there's plenty of diets to help you lose weight, only to gain it back. And you do have to become sicker and more unhealthy to go through the starvation and all the things and the drugs and the medications and the injections and all the things they've told us to do in order to lose the weight. So remember, the quality of the question is important. So if you're asking, how do I lose weight? Stop asking that question. And that's really what Mary did. She was tired of dieting and losing weight only to gain it back. She wanted to get to the cause of the problem. And it was really a metabolic issue, clearly.
Clearly. And one of the things that she said, and this is a thing that a lot of people do, is they feel like there's this goal weight that they can never get to,
Yeah.
or they've been putting it in their New Year's resolution every single year. And she said her stretch was to be able to be under 200, and the program was a success because it finally got her under a 200.
Yep.
In fact, that she said once she completed the retrain phase of her program, which is where she lost those 33 pounds, that her clothes didn't even fit anymore. And think about how huge that is for somebody, because the non-weight loss related win right there, and I can say even from my own experience, is the confidence that you achieve when those big clothes are no longer fitting you anymore, and you get to go to the store and buy new clothes, and or wear the skinny clothes that you've had in your closet for such a long time because you knew that that was the person that was inside. You just didn't know how to be able to get back to that person again. Now, what about this is a great story here, and we were talking about that earlier this morning. What about Mike and Brenda?
I love this story.
Yeah, let's talk about Mike and Brenda.
Yeah, so what a treat. Speaking of Mike and Brenda, I was able to have dinner with them. Emily and I had dinner with them last night, and they live locally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And, quick backstory, Mike Norwood was my coach in 7th and 8th grade. Loved him, great coach, great man, had moved off, and we hadn't seen each other in 30 years. And then Mike had seen you and I on live TV here, as we did, for 8 years, we did weekly live Good Morning Texas segments here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And he saw me on there, and he was like, is that Randy John? So he had Facebook messaged me, and we had reconnected. This has been 4 or 5 years ago. And so just kind of rekindled a relationship in a new way. Well, he had come in he wanted to do our program. He had lost 35 pounds going through our program. His wife, Brenda, was a little more skeptical. So she was that person going, I'll just watch and see what Mike does, and then I'll maybe come to my own conclusion there. So she did Mike's transformation. And so ultimately, Brenda came on board, did the program as well. She lost, didn't have as much to lose. I think she lost maybe 22 to 25 pounds, but blew her mind. And so for her and Mike both, they had completely transformed their life. They had just recently done another metabolic round. This time they did it together, not really for more weight loss, but more for more healing, more detoxification, to build a stronger metabolic profile. So having dinner with them last night was really neat because they were able to share and revisit their experience. And what was really interesting is one of Brenda's wins, 2 wins, is that she was able to finally come off her blood pressure medication. In fact, she has an appointment with her doctor, I think in a couple of weeks, and she is so excited to let her doctor know that, off all medication, don't need it anymore. And I said, make sure you tell your doctor that, but she can't believe it because this is something they had told her she would be on for how long?
The rest of her life.
And we know this. If you're on medication, the doctors aren't saying you're going to be coming off this. They're telling you you're on it forever. And we know it doesn't work because if you stop it, the same problem comes back. Sure. And that's why you keep getting a refill, because it doesn't solve the cause of the problem. We know this, but what do you do? Well, it was interesting because not only did her blood pressure normalize, Brenda was telling me the story, and I knew the story, but I want to, and I may not tell it exactly right, but something about she had this chronic cough for over 25 years. So just this kind of, just, and and in fact, her husband, Mike, was like, the most annoying thing ever. He goes, I was ready to get a chest x-ray to see if she had tuberculosis before I married this woman, because this is when they were even dating, and they've been married 20 years. And so anyway, after doing the program, the chronic cough completely went away. It's been gone now for 4 years, never came back. So how cool is that? That a metabolic change isn't just about losing weight. If she had tried to diet and lose weight, she may have lost a few pounds only to gain it back, but you wouldn't have healed the metabolic profile, because metabolism just isn't about losing weight. It's really, that is your longevity play. It's how you heal. It's how you repair. It's how you detox. That is it. And then, of course, Mike, one of his big wins, he used to have these horrible knots in his upper back, like rocks. And Brenda, his wife, would talk about getting in there and trying to work them out and massage him, and nothing would work. He was miserable. He was a longtime Texas high school, very successful high school football coach, and all the stress of that would just land in his back, along with the weight problem. Going through program, losing the weight, all that's completely gone. He doesn't have any more pain. There aren't any more knots loaded up in his back carrying all that stress. So all that to say this, it was really a treat to have dinner with them and to hear their stories again. And they've really become ambassadors within our community. As we know, they've been huge supporters of Happy Healthy, of us, and of all of our clients. They go to bat for everybody in our group. So it's not just that you get coaches in our group. It's not that you just get us. You get people like Mike and Brenda who've been maybe where you're trying to get to, and they can help guide you and support you. And I just want to give a big shout out to them. Thank you guys. We love you. I know they listen to the podcast, and what a great part of our Happy Healthy community.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said when you have one of your peers who can be able to help you, right?
No doubt.
As a trusted guide. This next one I think is very cool. This is Alexandra. Alexandra said, I feel like this program has set me free.
Wow.
Set me free. I feel great because it's a guided program. So for those of you guys who know that, you need some structure in your life, that really helps with accountability. Yeah. She said, it's a guided program, and I feel more confident that I can stick to it after I finished all the steps. And that's the biggest thing. And what she's saying about sticking to is that once you've healed your metabolism and you're healing your metabolism, there's really not anything that you have to be worried about. And what I mean by being worried about, it's the being worried about eating the sugar or the carbohydrate.
Counting your calories.
Counting your calories, right, or counting your macros, or any of those things. So you're not having to worry about those, which again is why our community is so great, because they can support you even after you do that. Everybody always goes, oh, what do I do next? It's one of the questions we always get whenever we're doing one of our metabolism classes in these docs' offices around the country is, okay, great, but what do I do next?
Yeah.
And the reason people ask the question, what do I do next, is because nobody has a next for them. When you're doing any kind of a diet, for example, there is no next. You just come off of that and go back to what you were doing. Yeah, you gain it all the way back, and they don't want to
do it all over again.
So she also says, for the schedule-oriented people, she goes, I'm schedule-oriented. I'm a list maker, step-by-step plan maniac. Give me those tools and I can slay dragons and conquer the world. Without them, I am lost, she says. So thank you to the Happy Healthy guys and your team. You have helped change my life and many others I see in this group. This is quite a mission God has entrusted to you. So well done.
Wow.
And couldn't agree with you more. I could have never imagined that we'd be doing this. And so God has definitely entrusted us with that. And I think one of the challenges that we had at the very beginning was, because we were helping people lose weight, we also knew in our own hearts that it was so much bigger than people losing a few pounds.
Yeah,
It was about, and we're always about life transformation.
that's right.
How do we transform people's lives? And let's transform the world's life. Really, that's just how it is that we think. We're not okay with helping people just here in our town, our city. This is something that we truly want to make sure that everybody in the world has the opportunity to be able to have a better life by being more metabolically healthy.
Yeah, and I love that about you, Dr. Rob, and myself as well. And collectively, we still to this day, we still coach other doctors on how to lead and inspire and want to change lives because at the end of the day, you just got to care enough about people to go tell the truth and do what most people are not willing to do. And I love it that they say that sometimes you need a story more than you need food. And that's why we're sharing these stories because it's not about the letters behind somebody's name. It's not by how much money they make. It really is at the end of the day, it's about the stories of real people who have a real journey that can lead other people and inspire their people. And we have had the privilege of working with some of the best people who are open. They're ready to do something different. They want to get to the cause of the problem. They want to live their best life. They want to help others. This type of community is remarkable. In fact, if I could, I'd love to even talk about Jim right now. Jim's story is very powerful. This is another member of our community who came into our program who really had tried everything, and when all the dust settles, we know you end up worse than where you were because you're trying to lose weight versus really getting to the cause of the problem. So here's what Jim says. I'm just going to read it right off here because him and his wife both did our program. And Jim is 57 years young, by the way. So clearly age isn't your problem if you've ever thought that. But he goes, I went into the Happy, Healthy, Thin program hoping for results, but I didn't expect how much it would change my habits and mindset. My wife and I did the program together, which made a big difference in staying accountable. I'm 5'11", and I lost 38 pounds in just 6 weeks, going from 242 pounds down to 204.
Amazing. That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
38 pounds.
It is believable. We get numb sometimes to the results, but that is remarkable. That's medically impossible.
You guys listen to that. He lost 38 pounds in only 6 weeks.
And then if you're listening, you're like, well, he's a guy, that happens for guys. Okay. So his wife, Michelle, she lost 25 pounds in 5 weeks. So 25 pounds. So collectively, these guys lost over 65 pounds almost 65 pounds of weight in just a matter of a little over a month.
They lost like a whole Backstreet Boy.
Exactly. And they said what's even more important is that they've completely lost the cravings for processed food, carbs and sweets, and they feel better than ever. They said the structure made it easy to stay consistent and to build habits that have stuck beyond the program. It's not effortless. You do have to commit, no doubt about that, but it's exactly why it works. He goes, for me, the results were absolutely worth it. And I'm already considering doing another round in a few weeks to get back to my high school weight. I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's ready to take it seriously. This is powerful. You think about it I don't know about you, Dr. Rob, when I hit 50, which was a couple of years ago, you start looking at life a little different. It's like, man, this got here quick, fast, and in a hurry. But then you start thinking about, you're maybe on that backside, you're on the back nine of the golf course of life. And you just start thinking about your health. You think about legacy. You think about your family. You think about the impact. You think about the relationships. And maybe the things that mattered when you were earlier, they're just not important anymore. Possessions or things or cars or homes. You just really start thinking more about, man, my health, it's at the ultimate premium. And so I'm really happy for Jim and Michelle because in their late 50s now, having health, having command and control and back in the driver's seat of their health, this is the most valuable thing that they could possibly own is to be back in charge of your health. All the money in the world is worth nothing if you don't have your health. And unfortunately, in our country, the number one cause of bankruptcy, it will be losing your health. And we already know 5 out of 6 people are dying of chronic disease. And I can't find the 1 out of 6 who isn't, unless they're maybe a part of our community. And the number one cause of bankruptcy is losing your health. It's also the number one cause of divorce. So you think about the devastation that happens on the backside of life when you didn't have the right leadership or the guidance. And so shout out to Jim and Michelle. Great job. Continued success. We're so blessed to have them to be a part of the happy, healthy community.
Yeah, and that is also why, like Mike and Brenda that you had dinner with last night, that these people in our community, because they want to help other people be able to have the same success that they have, they choose to be ambassadors in our community. And that's one of the great things about the community is you have these people who have been willing to step up and help other people that were where they used to be. And that's what we always say is you're best equipped to help the person that you used to be. And that's exactly what they're doing. And I think, and we could go on and on about these stories. However, for the sake of time, we'll do one more. And and we've got more stories. We can share more on the next episode. And I think it's important to share these stories, Dr. Randy, because one of the things that you say quite often is sometimes people need a story more than they need.
Yeah, that's more than they need the food, right? They need to know it can be done.
They need to know it can be done. I know that's how I operate. And that's why I love this next one right here, because like we said, it's so much bigger than just the weight. It really is about getting your life back. So this one, her name is also Brenda. She described a time before starting program where she could barely even walk. She said that she couldn't even stand long enough to make dinner. And I remember a time when I could barely stand up long enough to be able to make dinner and or even hold my daughter. So I can relate. And I think there's somebody listening right now that is going, you know what? I wish somebody could be able to show me that it could be done because I'm that person right now. She said that she was on multiple medications. She was experiencing chest pain so severe that she prayed, and this was exactly her prayer in quotes, God, please give me one more day.
Wow.
She goes, today I'm down 90 pounds off all medications.
Woohoo!
All medications.
Remarkable.
I think that prayer worked. Said her blood pressure is normal, her blood sugar is normal, and she is walking pain-free.
Wow.
How's that for true life transformation? And that's why we always tell people at the end of our show is to share this with other people.
Yep.
Because you never know who that one person is who's praying that same prayer. God, give me one more day. And I believe that's probably, God will give me one more day so that I can be able to live my purpose, or God, give me one more day that I'm not sick, that I'm not chronically ill, that I'm not in pain. God, give me a day where I can truly have that freedom to have the ability to do the things that I want to do with the people that I want to do. Life is short.
Man, it is so short. It is a vapor, no doubt about it. And what's the saying that when you have your health, you have 1,000 wishes. When you lose your health, you have one wish, and that is to get your health back. That right there is the most important thing. And I couldn't be more happy for Brenda. We are as a community because
great job, Brenda.
Man, it's just remarkable. And what's insane is, and not, listen, you have to take on the medical industrial complex. You have to address it because we have the most expensive healthcare system in the industrialized world, and we have some of the worst clinical and health outcomes, some worse than even some third world countries. So we just can't dress this thing up and present it as healthcare. We don't have a healthcare system. And this is somebody who's literally leaning and getting advice from a broken healthcare system and ending up here and literally with some of the smartest, quote, smartest people in the world who have all the access to surgical procedures and medications and technologies. Yet here she was, literally probably, who knows, maybe almost bankrupt when you're that unhealthy and that depressed. And hopefully in that point where you're praying for a miracle to do what she was able to do through a program that is holistically based, that is addressing root cause, that right there is a medical impossibility. In the medical eyes, they would tell you that's impossible. Yet don't tell me it's impossible when we know that all things are possible. In fact, Philippians 4:13 says all things are possible, not some things, all things are possible. And so we know that the body is capable of healing. It's what the body does. You're not broken. Maybe where you are, it's not who you are. And I love the fact that we can create an environment where great things are more likely to happen. And Brenda is just another living, breathing, real walking testimony of somebody who got sick and tired of being told that they couldn't do it and was willing to do something different. And look at this. Now she's living her best life. And I couldn't be more excited for her. Great job, Brenda.
Yeah, so if you are that person who is looking for something different, or maybe you prayed a similar prayer to Brenda, reach out to us. We want to help you. You can DM us at the H2 Life on Instagram. You can email us at info@h2, the number 2, then virtual.com. We're here to help you. An easy way to also get connected is if you go to metabolismscore.com. You can see how your metabolism is doing. It'll give you the next steps. And if you truly know somebody who may be in the same position, just share the podcast with them.
Yeah.
Right? Share the podcast with them and allow that to be able to be your mouthpiece to be able to help somebody else. So thank you so much for sharing it. Thank you for liking the show. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for your love and your support. And we will see you on the next episode where we are going to be talking about the 6 pillars of living happy, healthy for the rest of your life. How many pillars? 6 pillars. 6 pillars of living a happier, healthy life. You guys have a great weekend. You guys keep on enjoying your summer and have a happy, healthy day.
Thanks for listening to the Happy, Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.